Thank you, Chairman Brown, Ranking Member Toomey. Appreciate you holding this. And Senator Warner, I share your concerns about China's interest here. I fear deeply that assets like Bagram, that lithium deposits, could actually become a crown jewel in China's Belt and Road. So thank you for raising that issue. I'd like to turn my questions eventually to you, Mr. Joscelyn. Come back to the fact that the Biden administration's catastrophic withdrawal has created a series of colossal economic, humanitarian, and national security crises that are going to continue to unfold over the next few years. And I share the views that have been shared by many here, that the Taliban are unreformed. In fact, they may feel vindicated politically in what they've accomplished, and I don't think any of us share their violent and retrograde worldview. It's very clear that the Biden administration needs to work to ensure that the world does not recognize the Taliban as the legitimate government of Afghanistan, and this administration must work to restrict the Taliban's access to financial resources, which I agree the Taliban will use to further this sadistic behavior. Since 2002, the Taliban has been designated as a specially designated global terrorist organization, which makes them subject to counterterrorism sanctions. This designation must remain, and Treasury must be cautious when considering any loosening of the sanctions regime that we already have in place. Members of this committee and this administration may be tempted by a false choice that resources can somehow safely be channeled to halt a humanitarian catastrophe. But this wishful thinking, I feel concerned, will result in yet another national security catastrophe when the Taliban inevitably redirect those funds to their own purposes. We can't support a government or an economy that's inseparable from a terrorist organization. Mr. Joscelyn, you've already noted that Sirajuddin Haqqani, who's the leader of the Haqqani network, also serves as the Taliban's deputy leader. He is the interior minister of the new Taliban government. And you already noted the Taliban, the Haqqani network, Al-Qaeda are essentially the same. So my question to you, Mr. Joscelyn, would you recommend that this administration formally designate the Taliban as a foreign terrorist organization?
I think as a matter of fact, if the Haqqani network is a foreign terrorist organization, and it is and has been since 2012, then the Taliban should be. The Haqqanis have a controlling interest in the Taliban. It was that sort of distance between the two that was imagined by the U.S. government doesn't actually exist. And so if we're going to deal in facts, then I would say, yes, the Taliban should be a foreign terrorist organization. But it's almost something beyond that, right? It's almost beyond even a state sponsor of terrorism at this point. We now have, as Mr. Smith said, we have really a terrorist state. It's not even just a terrorist sponsoring state. And so it's almost like a new category beyond our normal categories.
You got at this briefly with Senator Tillis, and I've got slightly different numbers. It may be $7 billion. I've got $9.5 billion of Afghan central bank funds. But are there any circumstances under which you would recommend that we release those funds?
I can't imagine any.
I thought so. Another question for you, and this is very concerning. Do you believe that it's possible that the Taliban turned a blind eye that regrettable day that ISIS attacked the Abbott Gate, the day that we lost 13 American service members? What do you think might have happened that day?
Senator, I can't say with certainty. What I can say is that days before the bombing, we wrote up a report at Long War Journal about the security forces that were being placed by the Taliban outside the airport. Those security forces were heavily dominated by an arm of the Taliban known as the Badri 313. You can go through the history of Badri 313. They specialize in suicide and complex suicide attacks. And in fact, they honor throughout their propaganda a guy named Ustad Yasir, who was an Osama bin Laden man, worked for bin Laden and Zawahiri, and helped build this paramilitary force for the Taliban and the Haqqanis. And they glorify martyrdom. So do I know that they let him through? No. Do I have any evidence that they did? No. But we were very suspicious before the attack of why it was that Badri 313 was stationed outside the airport.
I agree with you. I'm deeply concerned as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hagerty. Senator